But I think one of the things I've always heard from customers, oh, you're kidding me. Whoever that was is fully mugging me off.
Yeah, it's really nice to be here, and yeah, I'm excited about it.
Yeah, it's been a long time coming, and the three of us don't get together in person too often anymore. Pete had a nice long commute in this morning.
How about you? How was your commute?
Yeah, straight from JFK to Heathrow to here. So yeah, very fortunate to get to spend a bit of time in New York these days. But yeah, it's been a pretty wild journey. That's the fun part about this journey, is how the tech has evolved, and that's what we do, right? We've built this business to help companies hire great tech people, and we've always tried to play around with the latest tech ourselves. But I mean, a year ago when we started that first internal hackathon, playing with some of the latest LLM technology really then kickstarted everything that we're going to talk about today.
Yeah, I think we were really lucky that at a time where we were wrestling with a few different problems from our customers, there was new technology that really changed how we could solve those problems.
Yeah, for sure. And you touched on it, just seeing like how the business and team has grown from those days at King's College, you know, right the way through to now having teams across 2 continents, 3 countries, the complexity that brings, time zones that brings, probably all working a few too many hours at the moment. But seeing that evolution and growth kind of leading up to today and releasing this product, you know, I'm sure you'll speak about it more today, but actually how the technology has evolved since we started the project has been incredible.
Yeah, it's like, I don't think 6 or 7 months ago we were thinking that we can achieve what we achieve now.
We're here today to chat about hackajob intelligence. We're going to chat about this new era of AI, and you know, we've been playing around with AI and machine learning technologies for a long time, but actually what's been possible with large language models really changes a lot. And then how that leads into our ability to activate talent, the high intent of that candidate pool and the engagement, and how as a recruiter you've always had to do this like weird stuff to actually find talent, these crazy Boolean strings, and actually now how you can just simply start with a prompt and just describe like, what is your ideal candidate? What do they look like? Where do they come from? What sort of background do they have? Which is all underpinned by this knowledge graph that we've been able to fine tune using our own data, which I'm sure you're going to nerd out about and tell everybody more about. So yeah, really excited for today's conversation. So obviously, Pete, you've been with us now for a couple of years, and I think since you've joined the company, you've really pushed our philosophy on actually how we do product, and customer discovery being a key part of that, which has led us to this product today. So maybe worth starting there on your journey and kind of your philosophy and approach to product.
Yeah, so I think at hackajob we're lucky to have a team of engineers who've been here for a long time, and we have a lot of skills and expertise there. But by bringing in product managers, product design, and bringing that whole team much closer to customers, the whole team has more context about the problems our customers are trying to solve. And I think that's really what has led us to better understand the direction we should take the product in.
We are trying to understand their pain. We are trying to see how we can solve it with the new technologies, with what it's appearing, and then we are deciding on what we are doing next based on the feedback. And after that, we are starting to implement it.
So the world has changed a lot over the last few years, and we've really seen the impact of that on recruitment. And so that's led to our customers having very different problems than maybe we've focused on before. It's always been core to our business to have this pool of really highly engaged candidates. But the way that our customers want to engage with those candidates and what they're experiencing outside our platform has really changed a lot. Fundamentally, every company is a tech company, and the space that we work in, focusing on tech talent, there's a lot of common themes. And particularly now that we operate across the UK and the US and in India as well, from a candidate perspective, there are different challenges, but fundamentally a lot of commonality as well.
And something you touched on, and I think always one of our advantages has been, is that we just focus on technical talent. And it is a slightly different audience. And Vlad, being the best technologist I know, how have you seen that persona has changed, and what are some of the challenges that you experienced, you know, prior to hackajob, and that you see kind of the persona of tech people facing when it comes to finding a new job?
Yeah, I think the main challenge is that the recruiters are not tech person, and it's the reality. And it's almost, in the past, almost everything was like keyword based. Open the CV, try to find the keywords that were like sent to you, and then try to correlate them with the job description, how you are using on the day-by-day basis, and then to find the right candidate. And it's not easy because the technology is evolving a lot of new, you still have the main programming languages like before, but a lot of new frameworks are appearing, ways of working with the new programming languages. For example, now with LLMs, like the Python was used before for machine learning, but now is used in different ways, and new frameworks are appearing, and it's really hard to keep up with all the new technologies.
We've definitely learned a lot and really found that there's unique problems that we see in companies with different size teams, but also a lot of common threads across all the companies that we work with. I guess some of the common themes that we've heard over the last year, a lot of companies are getting more applications than they have in the past. And there's a lot of tools out there now that make it really easy for candidates to apply to lots of jobs at once, which is a great experience for the candidate, but often really bad experience for the company that's receiving that application. The concept of AI has been around for a long time, and machine learning models and different approaches that you could take that really sort of were working towards AI, we've been using in the product for many years. But I think what really changed a couple of years ago, and ChatGPT really popularized this, was the prevalence of large language models and the size of those models that meant you could really do a lot of different techniques around processing natural language that hadn't been there before. And we knew, because recruitment is such a human activity, we knew that this was interesting.
The main advantage we had was that we have a lot of candidates, we have a lot of interviews that happened in the past, and we already had the data. So it was much easier to fine-tune our own models with our knowledge instead of trying to adapt the models that already exist on the market. And we have data from active candidates, not candidates which are from other data sources, not directly from our database.
And I think that speaks to the kind of first big challenge that we wanted to tackle with hackajob intelligence. I think you've touched on it there, Vlad. One of the things we've always been really good at is this high intent element to hackajob. And I think part of that is in the kind of psychology of how we've set up the platform, that actually we flip the model. Rather than a candidate applying to a job, the company actually makes that first move and reaches out to an engineer, which means we're able to attract candidates that have maybe an interest in moving to a new role, but don't want to be open to opportunities on LinkedIn or put their CV on a job board where they're just going to get spammed by mostly completely irrelevant opportunities. And Pete, obviously one of the challenges that you talked about was this crazy influx of direct applications that companies have received over the last 18 months. And often they have smaller recruitment teams than what they had before, and it means their teams are spending all their time sifting mostly irrelevant applications, and there might be one or two good ones in there, but they don't have that opportunity to go and proactively source other candidates that maybe don't even know about the company. So how could they apply in the first place? And I think that one of the real things we're trying to do with hackajob intelligence isn't just lean into the high intent talent we already have in our community, but how can we actually activate new candidates based on somebody's prompt by leveraging some of the new technologies that we've talked about. And I think that it's going to be incredible to see this blend of, okay, great, you can upload a prompt and, there's candidates ready to interview straight away, but then there's always going to be new candidates coming through off the back of that prompt. And that probably leads nicely into talking about prompts and, what is this concept and, how does that fundamentally change how a recruiter interacts with a sourcing platform?
Yeah, I think you mentioned earlier that recruiters in the past used these crazy Boolean strings, which really was just trying to say, I need an engineer that has one of these experiences or that has a certain type of programming language. And what we can do now with natural language processing is just allow people to write down what they want. As well as Boolean strings, there's often been a lot of keyword matching in different technologies, and certainly that was part of how our product has worked in the past, which again requires somebody to artificially figure out which keywords within a certain platform will apply to a candidate or will apply to a job description. So we take all of that away and make it a much more human process. In order to do that, we really had to think about a different way of matching, a different way of categorizing our candidates and the jobs on our platform.
We started with an idea, how we can translate a prompt or a job description First, we started like with the large language models that already exist in the market, and we tried to use it and to use them in real time. But we realized that it's not working. And after that, our head of data science, Kaspar, he came with the idea, what it will be nice to have a knowledge graph, to have all the relationships between skills, technologies, frameworks. And we started to create it. Then now we have millions of data points in the system and a lot of relationships between them. And now it's much easier when someone is looking for a candidate with experience, for example, in Java, to be able to highlight and to display a candidate with experience in Spring Boot, no matter that Java is not mentioned in the CV or in the work experience or summary. So now, and it's better for the candidates because they don't need to think about which is the hackajob taxonomy of skills. Now they just can write the work experience, explain what they did on their job, and we are able to highlight and to extract all the relationships. And another really nice thing is that we don't have just skills and skills which are on the hackajob taxonomy. If a new company is coming and they have new requirements, we are able to do them because we already have all the technologies related to a candidate and all the skills in our knowledge graph. And we can highlight new entities or new technologies that are not used before on hackajob.
And one of the things I think we've always heard from customers is when they have slightly more unstructured requirements, like our old system just couldn't work. And one of those was like leadership experience. It's really hard to define what do you mean when you talk about leadership experience. But I remember when I saw the Figma design that Barry first made of like, okay, cool, I'm looking for somebody with leadership experience. And then a candidate popped up that had mentored junior team members, and the knowledge graph was able to draw that relationship. And I was like, okay, great, we can do it in Figma. Can we do it in real life?
Yeah, and it's not only that you are seeing like leadership experience, it's also that you will see the text highlighted, and when you are going over it, you will see like the explanation why. And yeah, it's really nice.
That was a fun moment for me when I was playing with it and I saw Helm, the DevOps tool, and I hovered over it and I actually learned what it was for the first time.
And it's not only for you, so I'm working in tech and there are some technologies like, what is this? And I'm going over it and I'm learning what it is and then Googling to make sure that it's working, and I'm like, yeah, it's working, and it's really nice to learn new things from it.
And imagine for our users that are working across different roles and different tech stacks, and they're expected to really understand them. They can learn through the platform as well, and we take away the need to really understand the relationships between skills, which is really nice.
And I think that's another really critical point in hackajob intelligence is historically we've been so structured in how a user has to use hackajob, right? They had to fill out our form, they had to understand the concept of a match title, whereas actually you might say, do you know what? I just want to see any security cleared candidate in Birmingham. Because I know finding security clear talent is really hard. We've always had the ability to match against that. But then you'd have to put in like every single job title and it would get to this really overly complicated state. Now our users just got the ability to be so much more flexible in how they use a product, which I think, again, comes back to customer discovery, comes back to making this product like a true joy to use.
Yeah, I love that flexibility. Even from the start, when you put in a prompt or a job description, you can just see candidates straight away, or you can take the time to really curate what you're looking for. And then once you see candidates, really easy to add different filters or just tweak your prompt, and that changes the order of the candidates that you're seeing.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that something that we should touch on in the knowledge graph as well is that it's not just the skills relationship, it's actually all of the structured data we're now able to capture on companies. Again, something we've heard from a lot of our users over the years is like, we need somebody to come from a financial services background for this role, or we need somebody that's worked in a startup environment. And historically, you've never been able to search against that, but we've added so much more data into the knowledge graph.
There were like some ways in the past, like to understand, to get from the work experience, the company, you have the standardized company and you have details about the company, but it's possible to be, I don't know, a company which is working in different industries, and yeah, the candidate wasn't working just in one of them. Now, based on the work experience, we are able to extract not just skills, we are able to extract everything about the candidate, from industry, company size, where they are working, exactly on what product, with what technology, frameworks, and so on. So yeah, you can highlight more things that you was able in the past.
That's really the beauty of the knowledge graph, that we can build all these different relationships between different entities, and that can grow and expand over time. And so we can really respond much more quickly to shifts in the market or different needs from our customers, which is awesome.
And I think that I remember when we first took that really bold and brave decision to say, actually, let's rebuild our core matching platform from scratch. One of the key phrases we used a lot was dialogue. And we had this idea of like, actually, when you work with a really great agency recruiter, what makes that such a great relationship is the back and forth relationship, right? It's the fact that they've got so much knowledge about the industry, about what's on the market at the moment, and ultimately they can push back and challenge your requirements and shape your requirements in a different way. And I think the explainability behind the knowledge graph is replicating that now with a computer. You now have that approach and that dialogue and say, okay, cool, this is what I'm looking for. hackajob Intelligence would explain, this is why hackajob Intelligence thinks this is a good candidate. You might disagree, that's fine, but you actually understand why, which will help you refine your search. And then hackajob Intelligence learns over time.
Something we hear from customers is that a number of the candidates that they find on our platform, they don't see on other platforms. And that's really something quite unique. And I think it's because, and Vlad and the team can relate to this a lot, candidates on other platforms get a lot of incoming messages. And so that reverse model that you talked about earlier has really encouraged candidates to use hackajob more.
And I think it's been amazing that you joined that dot to hackajob Intelligence, and now companies are going to discover candidates that they previously would have entirely missed. So that leadership example that we talked about earlier, right? In the past, the candidate would have had to have the keyword leadership, the hackajob skills taxonomy tag to appear in their search. Whereas actually now, hackajob Intelligence will add context behind that and actually say, because they've mentored junior team members, they have leadership experience. And that discovery of new candidates, I think, is going to be amazing to help companies really push forward in reducing time to hire and some of those other things. And it kind of leads us to like the pillars that kind of underpin hackajob Intelligence, and some of those common threads throughout all of these features. A big one is obviously speed. We've talked a lot about how recruiters don't have time anymore, and actually how much they're going to save time using hackajob Intelligence, which will really enable them to do the things that humans are innately good at. I think is one of the key pillars.
Yeah, something we love to do as part of Discovery is spend time on site with our customers, seeing how they work. And what you really see with a lot of recruiters is the parts they really enjoy and where they're adding a lot of value is that interaction with candidates. And with hiring managers, it's the really human parts. And so where we can save a lot of time on some of the more kind of administrative tasks and getting the right candidates in front of them, that's a much more beautiful and quick process with hackajob Intelligence.
And I think one of those points you just mentioned, Pete, is that relevancy and just how important that is. Vlad, you talked earlier about how the knowledge graph has evolved, and because we've been able to fine tune our own models, the relevancy has now got so much better, which means, again, our users don't have to spend time doing those administrative tasks that bluntly they just don't need to. And just how much more flexibility the whole system gives them, I think, is so powerful.
Yeah, I think that's really key. We're not being prescriptive about how you use hackajob Intelligence. There are so many different ways to interact.
And that underlying insights, you touched on it, Vlad, the fact that you and I are using this product and we've spent 10 years in this industry and we're learning stuff, I think is going to be amazing for our users.
It's the insight piece where we are explaining you how the technologies are working, and it's amazing because you are seeing it, but it's also like what it's behind the scene. It's the model that it's evolving based on your actions.
And I think it's these pillars that really enable hackajob Intelligence to be leveraged by such a vast range of companies, right? It doesn't matter if you're a 10-person startup looking to hire your first engineer, or if you're the largest company in the world and you have to hire 100,000 technical people in a year. Actually, the system is powerful enough to cater for both. And I think that makes it a very unique solution in the recruitment industry.
Yeah, this is why we have multiple layers, because it's one which is common for all the companies, but then the requirements and how the interviews are going and what you are hiring in the end is different from a startup to an enterprise company.
And I think that's where the knowledge graph is really going to come into its own. If you're a 10-person startup, what you are looking for in an individual is different than if you're a much larger organization. And the ability to be able to prompt on that, match on that, I think is going to be incredibly powerful. And look, I think at the end of the day, all of this, it's kind of crazy that we've ended up in a world where AI and LLMs can actually make recruitment far more human by doing all of those human tasks you talked about, right? Spending far more time with candidates, far more time with hiring managers, which is really where they can add the most value.
And the irony that rather than machines replacing humans, machines can make humans more human. And the great thing is we can apply hackajob intelligence in different ways.
Yeah, and I think that's really exciting that you touched on earlier. The underlying platform is a lot more flexible than what we have before. So now we have hackajob core, which enables companies to build their permanent tech teams. Ultimately, they spend a lot less time sourcing and a lot more time doing the hiring of those people. And then you have hackajob on demand, which enables companies to find world-class contractors and actually manage that end-to-end payroll. And to be able to do that in the three biggest tech hubs in the world, in the UK, the US, and India, puts us in a very unique position to really support customers with their global hiring plans.
Yeah, we're just so excited now to get more customers using the product and more feedback so we can keep iterating and evolving.
And I think that's the magic, that this isn't a pie in the sky dream. This is live today. Customers are already being upgraded onto hackajob intelligence, and I'm sure there'll be many new companies that we're onboarding over the coming months.
A big thank you for joining Vlad, Pete, and I as we reveal hackajob intelligence to the world. If you would like to learn more or get a demo of hackajob intelligence, please head to our website. The link's in the comments below, and our team will get in touch to schedule a demo with you. And keep an eye out for more LinkedIn Lives. I'm going to be running a lot of sessions on LinkedIn where I myself will be leveraging hackajob intelligence to show you how to best leverage this new platform to discover technical talent and work hand in hand with an AI hiring assistant. Look forward to speaking to you all soon. Thank you.